always a pleasure to be here. What I'm going to talk to you about today is faith and faithfulness. So we all have to look at what does faith mean. And usually people will say it's a belief system, a belief in something. When we look at our principles, we believe in infinite intelligence. So then we have the faith of infinite intelligence to direct our lives and our soul purpose in the correct way as we follow the other principles. Now, faith is also what we call a gift of spirit. And this comes from the Bible in 1 Corinthians, where St. Paul gave us the gifts of spirit, which there's 9 of them. 3 of those, I believe, are healing gifts. Miracles, healing, and faith. So miracles happen all the time. Healing is an energy that we receive from infinite intelligence, but also our healers and our guides. It is the faith that we have to look at. And when we look at our prayer for spiritual healing, when we look at the first stanza, it says, I ask the great unseen healing force to remove all obstructions from my mind and body and to restore me to perfect health. I ask this in all sincerity and honesty, and I will do my part. All right? So what does that mean? You are going to do your part. You're going to have the faith that that unseen healing force is going to imbue the healing energies that will restore you to perfect health. So faith is one part of, and I will do my part. What is the other one? Okay? It is your, what you would call physical strength behind that. Now, I have a person who worked for me up in Michigan at a university, and he was a smoker. He had lung cancer, and he had a third of his right lobe removed. Okay, he did not do his part. He went back to smoking, and he is no longer here. So there's 2 parts of that spiritual stanza. One of them is faith that the healing energy is going to do its work, and then the other part is you have to be responsible for your actions, all right? Which leads to another principle. We're responsible for our own happiness and unhappiness as we follow nature's physical and spiritual laws. So the physical laws, my friend did not follow, and its actions are responsibilities. So in this spiritual age, then we have to take the responsibility and the faith to follow what our soul purpose is on this earth plane. And a lot of people don't know what their soul purpose is. So you have to reflect on that and ask your higher self and ask infinite intelligence, what is my purpose? I have a mentor, which was Dr. Thomas from the International Association of Metaphysics. And as he would say, it's what our soul purpose is related to karma. So in that case, it is service, service, service to humanity. And how can we perform that? We can do healings, we can do spiritual counseling, but there's a lot of things that we can do to assist humanity, and you will find that in your heart center. Now, when we look at faith, as we follow our principles as spiritualists, then we should be faithful to our principles. So we should obey nature's physical and spiritual laws as an expression of infinite intelligence. I believe that's number 2. And then as we follow those laws, natural laws, then we create our own happiness and unhappiness. And that's number 7. So everybody wants to be happy, right? Okay. So, and believe me, if you have the faithfulness to those principles, you will be good. Right? Now, when we look at faithfulness, we look at marriage vows, usually. And that is a contract between 2 people with a union of God associated with it. So, in sickness and in death and all this, it relates to, I am going to be faithful to you. And then we have to look at, as our lives progress, are we faithful to our partner? And sometimes that works out, and sometimes it doesn't. So far for me, it's worked out. Just saying. But we have to look at certain contracts, if you want to call it a soul contract that we come to. Are we faithful to that? Are we faithful to our principles? Do we know what we are doing? Are we hurting others? Okay. We can hurt people a lot. One of the commandments is, thou shalt not kill. Right? And that's just not bang, bang, chitty, chitty, bang, bang. Right? It's not a bang, bang thing. Well, we can kill dreams, all right, when we're working with people, especially our children. I had one daughter who wanted to be a bartender, but my wife kind of killed that dream for her. So, but maybe for the good part of it, but it was part of her dream. So we have to look at how we nurture people, if we're nurturing them in the correct direction. So it is faithfulness. And one of the principles, number 6, is the golden rule. Do unto others as you would do as you would have them do unto you. Okay? Some people will say that is an eye for an eye type statement, because if they do negative energies to you, you may retaliate. But that's not the purpose of that passage. The other one is to treat people like your neighbor, as you would a neighbor. And if we have the faith that we treat people equal, because we are all equal, then we will have a better society. And things in our lives will get better and will manifest what we need to manifest. It is all about faith. And speaking of manifestation, then when we meditate, we have that connection with infinite intelligence, with our higher self. And we get a lot of spiritual impressions when we meditate. And we have to take the information we receive from that and have the faith and carry it out. There's a lot of what I would call the Trinity. everything in the universe, sacred geometry-wise, is a triangle, which is the strongest symbol in the universe. So everything, if you look around, is a triangle. So when we look at Christianity, they'll say the Trinity is Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. But when we look at metaphysics, which is going towards spiritualism, then we look at the Trinity as thought, thinker, and action. And when we meditate, we get the thought coming in, and we think about it, but the action is the actual result of our spirit experience with infinite intelligence. So when I said earlier, it's service, 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 how do we help people out? How do we actually create a synchronicity in their life? It all comes from our actions. It's like walk the talk, not talk the walk. Whereas if we look at some of our politicians around here, it's do as I say, not what I do. Okay, but we're going to have to be the example, living in faith to make things happen. And going back to faithfulness, it is. Anybody have a dog in here? Okay, so dogs are one of my favorite animal spirits that come in. I have several that cross the Rainbow Bridge. So then dogs teach us unconditional love. They teach us loyalty and faithfulness. And they're always there. Okay, you can yell at them, but they'll still be coming for their treat. So, but when we look at the dogs, that faithfulness and loyalty, then loyalty works hand in hand with faithfulness. You have to be loyal to yourself. You have to be loyal to your principles. And have the faithfulness that whatever I'm doing, I am going to make sure I'm going to be loyal about it. A lot of people are not what I would call loyal as far as what their spirit is telling them to do. Right? We always have to remember that we are the king or queen, right, in our lives. So in that respect, we're number one. We have to be loyal and faithful to ourselves. Right? If we love ourselves, we can love others and take care of them as well. But we have to love ourselves. And we have to make that soul purpose come forward by the expression of that love. Okay? So a lot of people I see are what I would call the low man on the totem pole. Right? They're taking care of everybody else except for themselves. And when that happens, a lot of your chakras go out of whack and you become unstable in certain areas, physically, emotionally, and mentally. And we cannot take on excessive burdens that we can't handle. That's a lot of, well, I can do this, I can do that, you know. Should I do everything? And the answer is no. I have to look at my personal growth as well as to helping other people out. So, getting back to that faithfulness and loyalty, then no is a complete sentence. And we have to recognize what we can handle and what we can't handle. But it all comes down with your connection with infinite intelligence. What are we going to do about that? You know, it's the spiritual expressions through meditation, which is infinite intelligence, and or your guides, and or your loved ones in spirit. It's, we get a lot of messages from them, and it's how we act on them, which is the important thing. Some of those are just subtle type messages, just a smell on the wind, maybe an animal crossing your path, but we have to really look at those messages. How many people saw a turtle recently? Right, me too. Slow down. Okay. All right, but on the other part of that means come out of your shell. Okay, so one or the other. So, but you'll recognize it by the spiritual impression that animal gave you. But really, it all comes down to that meditation. And that's what faith is all about. And I leave you with